Baby Driver is directed by Edgar Wright, and this movie stars Ansel Elgort, Kevin Spacey, Lily James, Jamie Foxx, Jon Hamm. And this movie is a new original action film by Edgar Wright, and this movie is basically about how there's this kid called Baby. His name is literally B-A-B-Y, Baby, and he is sort of this guy that does driving for this organization, and he had an accident when he was very young, so he constantly has this humming in his ear. To drown out that sound of the constant humming in his ear, he listens to music, and that sort of enhances his abilities. He's able to drive really fast. He's able to do all kinds of heists for Kevin Spacey while listening to music blasting in his ear, driving super fast, doing all these criminal things, and eventually he starts to meet Lily James, a girl in this movie. They meet and start to form a little romance, which sort of puts a little bit of a wrench in this whole organization criminal thing he has going, and he kind of wants to stop doing that. So guys, I was very excited for Baby Driver. I mean, the main thing that made me so excited for this movie was Edgar Wright. I mean, he's one of the best directors ever living today. That guy is so unique, he's so crazy, he's so weird, and he's made another film this year. His last film was in 2013, and we're finally getting another movie from him after so long. If you haven't seen any Edgar Wright films, like the Cornetto trilogy or Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, you need to do that immediately, because Edgar Wright is one of the best directors of all time. This guy is a master at his craft, and I love every movie I've seen of his. So I was super excited for Baby Driver. You can always count on Edgar Wright for making very original films, and Baby Driver looked very original from the trailers. It looked very different, it looked very unique, and I was so excited because it's a rarity that we get original movies in Hollywood nowadays. It's usually always a sequel, or a prequel, or a movie in a cinematic universe, or something that's connected to something, or a book. Things nowadays are always adaptations of something, or sequels, or prequels, or something that's not original, and Baby Driver looked incredibly original. And guys, let me slow down and tell you something really important here. If you miss Baby Driver and don't see it in the theaters, I will be disappointed in you. Baby Driver is one of the best action films ever made, that I've ever seen in my life. This movie was incredible. Edgar Wright movies have a track record of not getting that much money. Because Edgar Wright makes such different films that can't be classified in a specific genre, so it's like, I can't see that, because screw original films, I have to see young adult adaptations of books. This movie is everything I want in an action film. Everything. It's one of the best action films I've ever seen in my life. Easily. Top 5 action films, and this, I think, is my favorite movie of the year so far. This movie was incredible in every sense of the word. Let's start with the characters first, because there's so much things to talk about with Baby Driver. There's so much to get into, but first, I gotta talk about the characters. Ansel Elgort, when I heard he was in this movie, I was like, wow, that young adult novel adaptation guy in a Edgar Wright movie? This is different. He's completely bland in those Divergent movies, and he's really good in Fault in Our Stars, so I was like, okay, now that he's out of the young adult realm, I kind of want to see what else he can do. And in this movie, I love this guy. I love Ansel Elgort in this movie. Ansel Elgort was amazing. His character was so unique and different, and his performance was more subtle, because he doesn't say a lot, he doesn't say a lot of words. He's basically just always listening to music. His character was so unique, and you can always really tell what he's feeling in a scene. Easily the best role I've seen Ansel Elgort in, and if he does more movies like this, I think this guy can have a really good career ahead of him. Kevin Spacey in this movie as well. I love you, Kevin Spacey, so much. Kevin Spacey is one of the best actors of all time. And in this movie, he does not disappoint. He is incredible in this movie. I loved him so much. He was funny, he was witty, he had some really good memorable quotes in there. Kevin Spacey was so good. Jamie Foxx in this movie was actually really good. He's actually really good in a movie for once, which, like, that never happens really. But Jamie Foxx in this movie is actually really good. He's really intimidating. You love to hate him in this movie. Jon Hamm also does an incredible job. He was so intimidating, so scary. Lily James played a really cool love interest, a character that I wanted to see more in the film. Let me get the inevitable out of the way for this movie. The action in this movie is some of the best action filmmaking I've ever seen in my life. This is easily the best car chases I've seen in a film. I'm sorry, James Bond. I'm sorry, Mission Impossible. This is better. These car chases are so unique in the way that they're filmed. They're filmed to filmmaking perfection. They're really quick and they're really fast. But the way Edgar Wright uses the camera and the way he edits these scenes makes them feel not choppy, even though they kind of are choppy. That's the thing with Edgar Wright. He does choppy scenes so well. His editing style is so unique, and in this movie I was like, yeah, this is the Edgar Wright editing style that I love. And it worked so well for action scenes. The action scenes were constantly in sync with the music. Every action scene almost felt like a music video because they went right in sync with the music. This whole movie actually kind of feels like a music video. It made it feel so unique and different from other action films. And the soundtrack to this movie is fantastic. It's not all 80s and 70s like the Guardians movies are. This movie has like music from a bunch of different decades and time periods splashed together, and it's all really good stuff. It doesn't play any stupid poop. I can tell that Edgar Wright has a really good taste in music, and I loved every song in this movie, and it felt so fitting for the action scenes that were being portrayed on screen. This is some of the best action filmmaking I've ever seen in my life, but also this movie is super funny. Every Edgar Wright movie, like the Cornetto trilogy and Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, are incredibly funny, but this movie also, especially towards the beginning more, because it feels like it gets more serious as the movie goes along, which is something I really didn't expect, but through like more the beginning of this movie is so funny! I was gut-busting several times in this movie, and that's not a surprise because Edgar Wright is a humor master in his movies. But like I said, this movie actually is kinda darker than most of the Edgar Wright movies. It gets more serious towards the end, and it really worked. The suspense in this movie is so real. After this movie, I couldn't breathe, really. The breath was taken out of me because I was in so much suspense. This movie makes you feel like you need to take a nap because the action scenes are so suspenseful, they're so energetic, they're so incredible, and you love the characters so much that the scenes are so suspenseful. This is suspense done to perfection. Edgar Wright has perfected that technique, and everything in this movie is just everything is incredible. Everything in this movie is so good. Like I said, it is super funny, but there are some really good dramatic scenes in this movie as well. Ansel Elgort and all the cast members really pulled off dramatic performances too. This is a really good portrayal of crime and how horrible it is. It tells a very real, interesting crime drama, and there are some moments in this movie where it does slow down a little bit, especially towards the middle. It's not constant action scenes. Some of the moments in this movie where it does slow down may turn off a few people, but for me, I thought it was great. I thought it was great that we got some slower moments in this movie to really invest us in the characters and the suspense that this movie has. Everything in this movie works so perfectly. The romance as well, I didn't even mention that, is really good. I felt the chemistry between Ansel Elgort and Lily James in this movie, and I liked both of the characters so much, and I could buy what they were going through. I could buy both the characters' motivations, and I loved them both in this movie. The romance is really good. Edgar Wright is really good at that, especially in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, even though that is an adaptation of a comic book. The movie is also filled with tons of practical effects, and it's so different and original and unpredictable. This movie had me on the edge of my seat. There was directions I thought this film would go. I was like, okay, if that's gonna happen, this is gonna happen. And then it doesn't do that. It constantly goes in unpredictable directions. Edgar Wright is such a weirdo, but I love him because he's an awesome weirdo. He is an incredible weirdo. I want him to be my mentor in filmmaking because Baby Driver and his other films remind me why I love film and why I want to pursue it as a career in the future. It's literally so perfect that there are probably some great things about this movie that I'm completely forgetting to mention that I'll probably think of later and I'll be like, oh shoot, I forgot to mention that great part of the movie. I know Despicable Me 3 is going to destroy this movie at the box office, but please, Edgar Wright's movies need support. They are so unique, they're so different, they are everything about the filmmaking and the style of his films are complete perfection. And Baby Driver is my favorite movie of the year so far. I'm just gonna go ahead and say that. There are points in this movie where my eyes teared up and I got chills because this movie is so, it's just filmmaking perfection. And to see a movie this great and unique and different is really a sight to behold. Baby Driver absolutely gets an A+. Hallelujah. I can't say enough about this movie. It's so unique and different, and to see a movie like this in a theater in 2017 is so incredible. Alright guys, if you saw Baby Driver, be sure to comment your thoughts on it, be sure to like this video, be sure to subscribe, and be sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and go see Baby Driver, please, because everything about it is perfect and it's amazing, and it's one of the best movies of the entire decade. I love it. It's one of the best action movies ever made. You need to see it right now. Okay, bye-bye.